it's nice to see a sci-fi movie where the AI is not like subvertly evil or something. It's just a human story about
right?
this technology and how people. Yeah, so
no one's
it was
blowing
nice to see
each other off.
Yeah, a nice story about humans that just have mixed emotions about robots.
Exactly. That's a perfect description.
Can you tell me a little bit about the casting process for this film?
Well, I had originally seen the casting breakdown for the role, and I just thought to myself two things. I said, okay, I've never done sci-fi before, and that to me just is like, fascinating in itself. And two, I've never been a robot. So even if I was to be in a sci-fi film, I was never that kind of character. So I just was intrigued by both. And I just felt like, out of the characters that are in the film, Sophia was more dominating. And I felt like, she was sexy, but not overly sexy. So I just was immediately drawn to that.
She seems to have more warmth than the other. Well, we really only get to see one and maybe like some shots of another one, but she definitely does stand out. And how hard was that to convey something that's real to the point of looking real but not real?
It was hard, I'm going to say, because, as an actor, you think you just have to put emotion into your role. You have to, be somebody that is human. And for me, to not act robotic, because that's not what Princeton wanted for this film. He didn't want us acting like robots. Mm-hmm. I thought in the most humanly way to portray a robot, I was just to be monotone. And I was just feeding off of David Vaughn, who plays Michael. I just was feeding off of his character. So I felt that there was sort of like a side love story between the two. And I guess if that monotone way of acting came across as correct, then I'm happy with that, because it was hard to not have any emotion as he's going through his crisis in the film. So, yeah, it was definitely a little backwards, I guess.
You can definitely tell that when you see the interactions with David Vaughn's character and his wife, you can see the huge tonal shift, because I believe your character is exactly what he needed exactly at that time of his life. And how much time did you two get to spend together to hammer down how their interactions would work together? Did you spend a lot of time with the script together, or was it just separately and everything just came together just perfectly?
Well, I mean, we were separate because I believe he was living on the West Coast at the time, and mm-hmm. I'm living on the East Coast. We did FaceTime. We did rehearse. We did get to know each other before, because I just think for those scenes, you kind of have to know somebody before you just
yeah.
right into it. But yeah, I mean, but as for like a formal meeting, we did not actually meet each other until the first day of. I believe our first scene was in a restaurant setting
mm-hmm. with
Jace and the other robot, and they're actually having. She played Diana. They were actually having cross conversation, and me and Jonathan were just sitting there playing robots. So yeah, I mean, our love making scenes, our sex scenes weren't until I believe a few days later. But yeah, I mean, no interaction actually until we were on set, like physically.
If you were to have the chance to have that perfect, I'm not really sure what. Well, they were called what was the proper name for the robots in the film?
I don't know if there's a proper name. I guess it's whatever is allowed to be said. They've been called E-mates.
E-mates, that's it.
E-mates, androids, sex bots. I think sex bots is a little bit more catchy. It'll definitely get more attention. Somebody might say an E-mate, like what is that? Like, is that some sort of like internet kind of love? But I think sex box definitely gets more attention, and it gets the point across quicker, I guess. So I'm cool with it all. If
this technology were to come to pass, would an e-mate be something that would interest you, or do you think that humans really need another human to have love or to have those feelings reciprocated?
Oh, that's a hard one because I think everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody finds happiness in their own ways. And, I do, there is actually a Sophia robot out there. I mean, to me personally, I'm good with human interaction, but you never know. I mean, I guess that's the whole point of this film. You have to open up your mind, and whether, it's experimental or not, or maybe it is the wave of the future, if that's what could make somebody happy, I mean, what works for one doesn't work for another, but it doesn't mean that you can't open your mind to it.
Now that you've had your first taste of sci-fi, do you see yourself pursuing that genre more as an actor?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would love to. But like we mentioned in the beginning, it's not your typical sci-fi movie. So, yeah, I would definitely like to explore more into that. But this was fun. This is definitely something I would love to do again. They could make a sequel. That would be great.
It does leave a lot open. You never really know.
It does, right?
It's sort of melancholy since you have you essentially have two stories that kind of intermingle with one another, and you don't really know if everyone's fine at the end of it, because it seems kind of maybe they'll be all right.
It makes you think. It's like, what if?
As far as you as an actor, how did you get into acting?
Well, I hate to sound like that typical story, but I grew up doing it. I've always loved acting. I started when I was 9, and it just kind of progressed from there. And I feel like it's the type of field that you can go at your own pace with. So I've dipped in and out of it throughout the years, but it's something I've always stuck with, and it's something I'm always going to do.
And what do you have coming up next?
I'm actually working on a TV series called Little Cupid. It's starring Cody Calafiore and Allison Mulaney, and she plays my daughter, and Cody plays my husband who passed away, and he is from Big Brother, and Allison is from Law and Order. And it's a really nice story about my husband who passed away in war, and he comes back from heaven and can only see my daughter. And he is set up by God to make people fall in love, and I can't see him. So that's what the series is about. So it kind of takes you through this emotional roller coaster of, is my daughter seeing a ghost or is she crazy?
So you'll have scenes together, but you have to play as in you can't see him, even though you're right next to each other. Is that
yeah. It's very, very, very interesting.
That sounds a little taxing. I mean, how do you keep, or when you have to interact with the scenery or with props, and you have someone right there that you know is there, but you have to pretend is not there? How difficult is that to pull off?
Well, you know what? I think physically it's more or less, how do I make this look on TV that I'm not looking at him and he's right there? I think if anything, it's just intricate moving is difficult. But as far as like acting with somebody right there, I mean, on sets there could be dozens of people behind the camera, and it might feel like you're the only person in the room. So that part isn't too bad. It's just, if I move too far to the left, am I going to bump into somebody that's not supposed to be there?
When will people be able to see 2050, and where will they be able to see it?
Well, right now, 2050 is on its theatrical tour. They're hitting the big cities, and if it's not hitting your city, which is listed on the website, we are going to be having our LA premiere this weekend. You can demand it through AMC. There's a link on the website that throughout the theatrical tour, if we're not hitting your city, you could vote for it, and whoever gets the most votes will come to your city. But after that, it's going to have its run through AMC theaters.